losing for Detroit. A nice drag ahead by Datsyuk. Controls to the outside, shoveling. He scores!
Picture an NHL draft room in late June. Fluorescent lights buzzing over half-empty coffee cups and scouts hunched like gamblers around a felt table. Mock draft sheets crinkle, and every so-called prophet claims he can spot greatness on sight. Yet one name slips by twice without a whisper. 3 full rounds, 2 consecutive years, 0 interest. Somewhere in Siberia chilled Sverdlovsk, a skinny kid named Pavel Datsyuk watches the draft ticker scroll past, unnoticed and undeterred. 5'11" on a generous day, pigeon-toed, shoulders rounded from too many hours in decrepit rinks. He's labeled too small, too old, too normal. Coaches joke he'd blow away in a Moscow crosswind, but the Magic Man never subscribed to their scouting report. In the shadows, he's rewiring his brain on dusty soccer pitches, sketching passing lanes the human eye isn't built to see, sharpening a two-way blade that will one day slice through NHL arrogance. What follows is the improbable whiplash fast ascent from 2 times undrafted afterthought to first ballot Hall of Famer, and the spell he cast on anyone reckless enough to reach for the puck on his stick. Sverdlovsk, 1990s, a steel-smudged industrial city where winters bite and dreams tend to freeze. Pavel Pasha Datsyuk loses his mother at 15, an ache that might have swallowed him whole if hockey hadn't offered an escape. Yet even on skates he's unremarkable. Narrow shoulders, no growth spurt, box score numbers that barely fill a line. Coaches see a nice set of hands, but nothing screaming future star. What they miss sits in his peripheral vision, trained by years of street soccer, the ability to read angles before they exist. He weaves passes in crowded futsal courts, learning geometry no dry erase board can teach. Quietly, a sense for space is hard coding itself into his brain, waiting to be unleashed. But talent alone never guarantees a stage. 2 NHL drafts roll by, 1996, 1997, his name uncalled. To everyone but a few hometown believers, Pavel looks fated for a life of middling paychecks on Russia's farm team circuit. So far the legend is a ghost, and then fate decides a snowstorm makes the best talent scout. Enter Håkan Andersson, Detroit's European bird dog, sent to Moscow to scout an entirely different teenager. Mid-game, his eyes drift toward the slimmer forward on the other bench, who hooks back on a 2-on-1, swipes the puck, then flips a seeing eye pass that splits 2 zones. Andersson scribbles a note, then books another flight. On that second viewing, the same kid repeats the trick. A defensive gem here, a mischievous toe drag there. So Andersson schedules a third look. Nature intervenes. Moscow's sky dumps snow thick as bed sheets, grounding his plane alongside a Calgary Flames scout headed for the same rink. Flight canceled, the Flames never see Datsyuk. Detroit's secret stays safe. Andersson returns home, preaching about an undersized savant hidden in plain sight. By the 6th round of the 1998 draft, general manager Ken Holland finally nods. Take him. Pick 171 blinks onto the board, unnoticed outside the wings table. Back in Russia, Pavel thinks friends are kidding, until the morning paper confirms the NHL actually wants him. 3 summers pass. Rumors swirl of rival GMs dangling trade packages with a mysterious prospect named Datsyuk. Holland stonewalls them all. While the league shrugs, Detroit lets its private investment mature in peace. And when the secret lands in North America, it walks straight into a hall of mirrors lined with future legends. Training Camp 2001. Imagine stepping off a transatlantic flight and finding your cubicle wedged between Steve Yzerman and Sergei Fedorov. Pavel's English is shaky, his posture slouches. Veterans razz him for carrying a single-strap backpack like a school kid. Igor Larionov slides a locker room arm around the newcomer, translating jokes and advising on fast food to avoid. Coach Scotty Bowman stitches a line. Brett Hull, 37, pure sniper. Boyd Devereaux, grinder, and the rookie with surgical mitts. Hull, who once took feeds from Wayne Gretzky, stares after the first no-look pass and mutters, "That's the sickest player I've ever seen." Pavel posts a modest 35 points and lifts the Stanley Cup 9 months later. Not bad for a hidden 6th rounder playing spot minutes. Teammates prank him in Edmonton by hiding every one of his sticks. When a defenseman springs from a gear bag like a horror movie villain, Pavel stumbles backward, laughs along, and quietly files the moment under rookie dues. Detroit's room realizes the shy Russian belongs. The rest of the NHL is still clueless. They won't stay clueless once the puck drops in Dallas. November 15th, 2003. Overtime looms when Pavel rips down on Marty Turco, sells snapshot high glove, then at warp speed yanks the puck behind his own skate and tucks it upstairs as he drifts past the crease. Turco swivels, half frozen. Broadcasters stumble for words until Ken Daniels coins Datsyukian Deke. Fans mash replay buttons so often YouTube's fledgling servers wheeze. The move symbolizes a larger detonation, 68 points, first All-Star game, nightly highlight fodder. More important, he's begun hunting pucks on the back check with the same hunger he hunts goals. Stick lift, strip, transition, over and over. Invisible until it's too late. Detroit analysts start counting takeaways, a stat virtually invented to describe what Pavel does by instinct, and he's only sharpening the blade. 2005 through 2015, the NHL tries tracking takeaways officially. Pavel collects 926. The next closest player posts 736, that 190 theft gap, basically an extra season of larceny. He pairs the lopsided stat with 90-point artistry, forcing award voters to invent new ways of applauding. 4 consecutive Lady Bings for skill plus sportsmanship, 3 straight Selks for defensive mastery. Coaches complain you can't game plan him, cheat up, and he pickpockets you, back, and he walks your blue liner. Ken Holland calculates that Pavel's defense alone prevents 30 goals a year, a phantom 60-point swing when you count the offense created the other way. In other words, Datsyuk is worth an entire playoff bubble team by himself. But statistics, impressive as they read, never fully capture the sorcery fans tune in to witness nightly. San Jose, 2007, Datsyuk slaloms through 2 sharks who promptly collide like cartoon bowling pins. Dallas, 2008 Western Final. He nets a hat trick, chirping to teammates, "That's first for me," with bashful grin. Shootouts across the league devolve into copycat clinics. Kids mimicking the move, goalies praying for snowstorms of their own. Off the ice, Pavel remains almost inconveniently humble. Reporters fish for bold statements. He shrugs, "I'm just happy to play." When asked about his place on early YouTube montages, he deadpans, "I hope the YouTube's still working, nobody forget me." Cue a million hits overnight. Then, just as his legend seems bulletproof, a brief cloud drifts across the sunshine. Summer 2013, amid global scrutiny of Russia's anti-LGBTQ law, a journalist corners Datsyuk for his stance. He replies, "I'm Orthodox, that says it all," a cryptic line many interpret as tacit support. Western media bristle. Detroit's locker room deflects. The controversy never blooms into suspension or fine, yet a layer of complexity now clings to his image of pristine sportsmanship. By 2016, ankles bark and daughters grow older. Pavel announces he'll finish out his contract, then return to Russia. Detroit eats an ugly cap recapture penalty. Fans swallow a lump of sadness, but clap anyway. For weeks, rumors swirl. Arizona holds his rights. Maybe he'll stage an NHL comeback. He never does. Instead, he signs with SKA Saint. Petersburg wins the Gagarin Cup in year 1, then pockets Olympic gold at Pyeongchang as part of the so-called Olympic athletes from Russia. Triple gold club completed. The last act still awaits. Formal global immortality. Eligibility arrives in 2024. The Hall's voting committee barely pauses before stamping first ballot. On induction night inside Toronto's Hockey Cathedral, Pavel steps onto the crimson carpet, dwarfed by towering banners and the Stanley Cup glinting under spotlights. A video montage rolls, blinding dekes, surgical stick lifts, stealth takeaways, drawing gasps and spontaneous applause. When his name echoes across the hall, he shuffles forward, fiddling with the knot of a tie he probably practiced in his hotel mirror. "I feel like lucky boy," he murmurs, English thick with shy vowels, and the crowd answers with a roar that rattles the glass showcases. The once invisible prospect now stands shoulder to shoulder with Gretzky, Howe, and Yzerman beneath the vaulted roof where legends live forever. Next summer, he inks a ceremonial one-day contract, slipping a Red Wings jersey over quietly aging shoulders to retire officially where the magic bloomed. Between drills at development camp, he coaxes nervous teenagers into trying no-look passes, then laughs when they botch them. "Don't worry, I miss too sometimes," he jokes, easing decades of pressure with a wink. Later, he circles the freshly resurfaced ice, stick handling through scattered pucks for old time's sake, while fans press against the glass. Phones aloft, chasing one last sliver of wizardry. When the final curtain falls, Pavel returns to Yekaterinburg for good. Wiry, content, still shamefully good in the occasional charity game. He coaches local kids on dusty rinks, preaches patience over power, and spends evenings replaying KHL highlights with his daughters giggling beside him. The game has new superstars now, but every time a shootout ends with a slow-motion toe drag and a helpless goalie, the broadcast booth reaches for that same phrase, a little Datsyukian flair. In those echoes, and in every young player who refuses to accept the word overlooked, the Magic Man keeps skating long after the lights dim. Pavel Datsyuk's story isn't merely a triumph of skill, it's a rebuttal to every checkbox scout sheets swear they need. Too small, too old, too normal on paper. Yet the man turned wood and sharpened steel into a conductor's wand, remapping what we think a hockey player can do with time and space, and how much joy the game can spark when imagination trumps convention. Somewhere right now, a late-round hopeful is lacing skates, unseen by the spotlight, replaying Datsyuk clips on a cracked phone for good luck inspiration. And somewhere, a scout is glancing away from the obvious highlight to notice the kid who hustles back on a 2-on-1, times the stick lift perfectly, then glides away with a shy grin. If that sounds familiar, good. Because every era deserves its own Magic Man, living proof that genius might be hiding in the snowstorm, waiting for someone willing to look twice and believe.